Welcome to BPA training. In this video, we'll be providing you with an overview of the billing process. Now, this is not meant to be a comprehensive video where we cover all the minute aspects between claims, payments, and statements, but look for our other videos to see details on those. This video, though, will walk through a typical logical workflow of how a biller will work with the charges in the system and be able to get paid on them. Oftentimes, to start out, we'll open up a patient from patient selection, and really cues off this process is the doctor's note, which will include the necessary information for charges. So we'll open up a note for this patient, and what you're going to find is under the Problem DX section, that's where all of the diagnostic codes get loaded in connection with this note and can be used for other notes as well. So you'll see in this particular patient, we've got a couple of diagnostic codes that we've put in, and more, of course, can be added in up above and saved. But once we have diagnostic codes in, oftentimes as the doctor fills out the note, under the procedure section, they will select the procedures done, and you'll notice here, as part of the quick filling out of this note, it will also connect in various procedure codes. So once we have those procedure codes selected through this procedure workflow here, you're going to notice now under the charge capture area, we can essentially bring those two things together, the diagnostic codes and the procedure codes, and link them up. So automatically when we come into charge capture, you'll notice we have our diagnostic codes up above. Now to bring in those procedure codes, we can use this extract code button, and it's going to find codes from the doctor's note and allow us to bring those in. So now you'll see we have that procedure code down here in the middle, and we can link that to the diagnostic codes that we loaded in earlier. All right, so now we've done essentially what's required to be able to queue this up for billing staff. So within the note, we've tied in the procedure code and the diagnostic codes. So we'll save and close out of here. Now on the billing side, you'll notice if you put your mouse to the left-hand side of the software, iPatient Care, you have a whole section here dedicated to billing. And we're going to briefly walk through these different main categories. But just as an overview, patient account really gives us an area where we can see the patient's ledger and work with statements. Claims is pretty self-explanatory, sending out paper and electronic claims. And payments, we can collect insurance and patient payments in this area. And those are going to be the primary three that we live in. And then, of course, we have collections and reports as well. But just to see this particular patient, I'm going to open up the patient account and just notice what the status looks like. If we go under patient account list, this again is where we are going to see the ledger along with any statements a patient has and their balances. So we have this sample patient here, Jake Adams, as was mentioned. And as you can see here, even though we've filled out a doctor's note that has charges and a diagnostic code, his patient responsibility is currently 0, which makes sense. There's a claim we need to send out first. But just to show you what it looks like, if we go in to view this account, really there's nothing in here showing up yet. No claims up above and no balances, aging balances down below. So let's kick that process off. We'll go back into that ledger area and see how that changes over time. But we're going to go to the claim area now, and you'll notice there's some subsections that we can work with. We can create a brand new claim from scratch, or even a batch of claims from scratch, as we can use these two options. We can view existing claims in the claim list area. But typically what's going to be the fastest to work through is going under batch list here. We open up the batch list, we can see our existing batches of claims. And what's really nice is we can create a new batch on the fly and bring in charges that are not currently on a claim by using this visit button at the upper right. I'm going to click on that. And you're going to notice all the visits that can be put on a claim, and thus all the claims grouped into a batch. Now, hopefully, as you're working through this frequently, you're not going to see too many in here. You'll be keeping this up to date and claims going out. This is just a demo system, so we have a lot of visits and charges and whatnot showing up in here. But we have our patient we're working with here, Jake Adams, showed up. along with the visit date from today. We see our CPT code and other data as well. Now we could select multiple visits from different patients to group them and their claims into a batch. But just to keep it simple, we're just going to bring in essentially one patient in one claim and make it all that in a batch. So we'll hit save here. All right, we get the notification up above that our batch has been created. And here it is. We have our batch of really just one claim. You can see under this type column, it shows it's electronic. P will show paper, and it'll show the number of claims and so on. As a biller, once you create these batches, you're going to go into them typically by clicking on that button, and you're going to see a whole list of claims included in this batch. Again, we just have the one in this case. But as a biller, you're going to oftentimes click on this button at the right for claim details and actually work through the claim, kind of scrub it, making sure all the data looks right. This may be the first time you're really seeing some of the details. So you might go through here. In this case, we'll just put in a sample fee of $100 for that charge. Down below, there'll be errors that a biller can work through. They can even, once correcting those errors, click on this check errors button to make sure those errors have been corrected. Now, once we got this the way we want it, what's nice is you'll notice there's these arrow keys at the bottom. So if there was another claim, we could work through that by clicking over next, and we could work through that claim real quickly without having to go in and out. In this case, we're going to work with this the way it is, even though there is a little bit of an error here. I'll hit OK, and yeah, we'll save that claim as is. All right, so at this point, we are ready to transmit this batch. So we can hit transmit here, or if we wanted to and go back to our entire batch list, we'll also notice that same transmit button show up here. So I'll click that in this case to send it out. Okay, so it shows that our batch is ready to be sent. This is a demo system, so it'll automatically pick this up and send it to the clearinghouse for us for an electronic batch. If it was a paper batch, as you see some of these are, we can select them and use the option up above, the printer icon, to print out our statements. Now, just to show you what that has done to the ledger that the patient has, if we go back under billing, patient account, and patient account list, we're going to notice under Jake Adams here, again, not much has changed as we look at the balances because there's no patient responsible balances. But now if we click on view accounts, we're going to see some more information in here. We'll see that claim line show up. As you can see with the color indicators up above, we can see these charges are in red because they have not been paid. And even down below in the aging area, we can see there's a $100 balance that's 0 to 30 days aging to that insurance carrier. So let's imagine now some time has passed, that insurance carrier has now paid us. So if we go under billing, we can now move to this payment area. And really, we're going to be typically working with the first two options. So ERA posting, that's going to be where our automatic payments come in from the clearinghouse. And then payment list is where we're going to be putting in payments manually, insurance and patient payments. Let's start off just to show you briefly this ERA posting area. As I mentioned, ERAs will just come in here because of the connection with the clearinghouse. We can see some basic detail of the ERA, and what's really nice is even at the right-hand side, we can click on that preview button to see the EOB. We can print that off or save it if we want as well. Additionally, over at the right, we can modify details of that ERA. But essentially, once we're ready to post it, we can check that checkbox and hit that Post ERA button at the top. In this case, let's imagine, though, for that claim we just sent out, we have an insurance payment that didn't come through as an ERA. In that case, we can come through the payment list area. And as you could imagine, that's what we're going to see here, a list of all the payments or recent payments in the system. For us to start off at the top right, we can see insurance payment. So I'll click on that. We can choose the plan name, the carrier, select BCBS, and how much they paid. So we'll say they paid $70 of that $100 balance. We'll put in a check number, and that looks good to us. So the next step, we have to connect this payment to a claim. So you'll notice down below here, we could search for the claim if we knew the claim number. Otherwise, we can even just click this claim button here and find the claim. Thankfully, because it's a recent claim, it came up. We see Jake Adams here, but we could use our templates or other means above to quickly find the needed claim if it was kind of buried in our list. So we'll select it and hit save. And now we have that claim loaded up for Jake Adams. So we can click these two arrows at the right to open the payment posting. And we can put in how much was paid. So we'll put in the full amount of that payment, the $70 in this case. And we'll notice how that updates the balance to $30. At the upper right, we can choose who should be next billed. Because there's no secondary or tertiary insurance, we can mark this to the patient. All right, we'll hit OK. And as we can see here from our $100 charge originally and our $70 payment that is now fully posted, there's going to be that balance of $30. So we'll hit OK. And we can see the payment has been fully posted as shown here. None has been unposted, which is good. Now let's go back into that patient ledger area just to see what that looks like for this patient. So we find Jake Adams, and now there's a balance. There's a patient responsible balance showing up, the remainder, that $30. And again, if we click on those two arrows at the right, we can see that clarified for us even further with this particular claim. You'll notice the status colors have also changed to blue, which means partially paid. And down below, we now notice the aging has shifted to the patient and is 0 to 30 days past due. From this point, we would generate a statement generally for this patient. To do that, at the top, we can click on this patient statement button if we're just doing the one and click generate statement. That brings up that statement for us. Again, we could save it to our computer as a document and provide that to the patient somehow, or print that out to mail to them. Additionally, we can do statements, of course, in bulk, coming back to this patient account list area and using the print button up above as well, and print all selection to do statements in bulk, which is pretty common for offices. But now let's imagine we've given this patient that statement and they've paid. Well, as you probably have guessed, we can go back into the payment area under payment list and put in that patient payment. We'll use this button up at the top for the patient payment. And we need to find that patient first of all. And select how much they've paid. Say they've paid the remaining balance and they've paid by cash. And we can connect it to the appropriate claim again by clicking that claim button down below. Now, because it knows the patient, it shows the claims related to that patient. Makes it easy for us. We'll hit save. And we'll go into the payment posting details again, just like our insurance payment. We can say the payment for this was the full $30 on that particular line, or if we had multiple lines, we could show how that was broken out through the different lines. We'll hit OK there, and we'll now see the balance is zeroed out. So we'll hit OK. And just to show you what that looks like finally, as we go into the patient account again and see the ledger, we'll now notice for Jake Adams, there was a $30 charge. He paid $30. And if we go down our line here, we can see the remaining balance is 0. And again, if we were to open those two arrows at the end, we notice our status colors have changed for this line. It shows fully paid in green, and there's no aging down below. Well, we hope this provided you a nice overview of the billing process in order. Certainly see our other videos as we provide the details in these different aspects of billing. Thanks for watching.